Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
A couple things. I
like the big drawing, like the big inhale. Let it out. In with the good stuff, out with the bad stuff. Right to business.
We've got a BDM event coming up in October. If you're not a BDM, you can sign up at tomanddan.com.
Yes.
And, of course, we've got our free beer fest and Sofas and Suds, the Sanford Couch Racing, coming up November 23rd and 24th, the weekend before Thanksgiving. So those are two giant free events in Sanford, and we've been doing them for over a decade now, which is insane.
Yeah, it is. It's a little crazy.
Let's hit some weird jobs.
Yeah, buddy. Tom wanted to do a bit. He called it Weird Job Wednesday. Dan really likes it. Tom says that's bullshit. It's another Weird Job Wednesday. What are you doing? What is your job? Are you neat? Are you tidy? Or are you a fat slob? Do you make lots of money and you sit up in your tower looking down on all the people who are working by the hour? It's a Weird Job Wednesday. Just another Weird Job Wednesday. Oh yes, it's Weird Job Wednesday. Just another Weird Job Wednesday. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Weird Job Wednesday brought to you by BucketBrigadeJunk.com.
Yeah,
if you've
buddy.
got junk that needs to be removed, Bucket Brigade can do it. They are firefighter owned.
Yes.
And they work the Claremont and West Orlando area. Just give them a call if you got junk. So on
I
the
got
line,
junk.
yeah,
I got a lot of junk. I got so much junk.
yeah, a lot of people have a bunch of junk.
Well, Florida. I feel like Florida is the land of hoarders.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like we have all
Oh,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
On the line with us right now,
This
Logan.
is like having a celebrity, dude.
Yeah. Logan Keats on the line. How you doing, Logan?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. You may recognize Logan from all of Dan Cummins' podcasts.
Yeah, Bad Magic Productions.
Yeah.
Our buddy Dan Cummins, who has become a conspiracy and all things scary and little factoids that you need to know mega podcast juggernaut.
Yeah.
This is his. You tell me if this is right or wrong, Logan? You're kind of a jack of all trades, creative director for all things Bad Magic and the properties there.
Yeah, essentially, man. I do essentially everything that has a visual or an audio aspect to it. It's going to come across my plate for sure.
I love that. And so he reached out I threw it out there on like Twitter. I was like, hey, I need some more Weird Job Wednesdays, and Logan came in with, he does a lot of things, but I think where a good place to start is, if you're not familiar, the podcast Scared to Death, which is another property that Dan and his wife Lynze do. It's more of a horror-based podcast, right, Logan? I'll just let you explain what you do for them. Yeah, you take it from here. I'm being Tom, which is I'm explaining what Logan does.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it really is fun.
I was listening to you do it. I'm like, I like what this guy's doing. He knows how to do an interview.
Okay, I'm going to let Logan tell you what he does. Here he goes. Okay.
Yeah, so for Scared to Death specifically, I produce that show, and what I do is I'll get the audio file from Dan and Lynze. I actually recently moved back to Indiana to be closer to the family, so now we do it remotely. But for the last several years, I would sit behind the desk and record the actual show with all the camera cuts and all that good stuff.
Nice.
And then on the back end, I'll go in and score and compose all the music and underbeds and sound effects and Foley stuff for each episode.
And you're doing, sorry not to cut you off, but just to blow people's minds.
No, go ahead.
You're basically taking, I know that we borrow a lot of elements because, we're kind of a ragtag rough around the edges, but what Logan's doing is he's actually composing and creating like real music that is your music, original stuff that
Correct.
can be implemented into the podcast. And to me, that's just mind-blowing, dude.
Correct. Yeah, every single episode. And actually we also have a companion show called Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah.
And that is basically Scared to Death on steroids. So Scared to Death is about an hour and 20 typically, and it's Dan and his wife Lynze, essentially taking turns telling scary stories.
Yeah.
Whether from the web or creepypasta type stuff, supposedly true haunted stories.
Sure.
And then Nightmare Fuel is 100% fiction written by Dan, and from basically minute one all the way to the end, it essentially, it sounds very cinematic, very much like you're listening to a movie.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of Night Vale. You remember when those podcasts were getting big?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like you do an excellent job with that. Now, when Dan delivers. And when Dan and Lynze deliver the product to you, just the fresh stuff, how do you start?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does the process start to add your sound effects or start to add music and stuff like that? What is your process like when you're giving it a take? Do you go through and make notes, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big note taker. And like I said, the last few months it's kind of a new era of, again, doing it remotely, but I'll speak beforehand. When I was going through recording the episode, I'd take very meticulous notes and beats as we went through. Now I kind of do it before I get into the editing. So I'll get the raw file, I'll bring it in, and I'll make all the necessary edits where there's any stop downs or any, flubs or redo of words, stuff
Sure.
like that. And then once I have that file, I kind of go through it, make my markers and scene changes where I know, like, okay, for this 5 to 7 minute stretch, he's in the barn. And then for this next 5 minute stretch, we're back in San Francisco, whatever. So you're setting the different scenes.
Gotcha.
And then I'll usually, in my head, have a few descriptor words. So, like, this one's sentimental, or this one is anxious, or whatever. And I'll have, different chord progressions and key tones and all that good stuff to kind of live within. And then I go through essentially scene by scene and compose what I have a few keyboards here. I've got my drums and all kinds of phones, all that good stuff to basically capture whatever sounds I want. And I do it on the fly. So if I know there's a gargle sound because someone's, got an arrow through their throat, well, I'm going to go grab some milk or some water and lay down and get a little nasty for a sec.
Here's a little example. I kept this one that he sent me. Here, Tom, listen to this. This is what he does. You're going to hear, for those just listening, first you're going to hear just like what he did, and then you're going to hear how he applied it. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Can you hear that?
Oh my God! It's like dead silence.
Yeah, it's almost like dead silence. Holy smokes!
I've never heard dead silence.
It didn't even work. It didn't work. I'll add it in later. Okay, we'll add it in post. That's what Logan does. I'll just add it in post. But it's crazy. So are you punching a bag of cat food? Are you anything that your imagination can get a hold of? Are you shaking a can of Roma tomatoes? Are you slapping bologna against a chair? Like how do you come up with what you build?
Yeah, I mean, I've expanded as much as I can. Whenever I can make the sound myself, I will. I'll walk outside and grab some twigs. If I'm punching something, I'll put like a little extra pad on my chest, and I'll punch my chest a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I try to make just about everything. Now, there's an occasional thing that will be difficult to grab, especially because we're, it's a weekly show, and so we're cranking it out, and I got to get it done and move on. So, like, for instance, one I'm working on has some, barking and growling dog effects. Kind of hard to make your dog angry and try to
right.
So there's a few things here and there that I'll try to find, but I will say 99% of the stuff I use is made in here in my studio. Yeah.
Wow.
That's killer, man.
So Logan, I'm curious, is it a more custom, obviously it's custom to every show, and you doing every sound effect is insanely custom. and which makes it
I think
different.
that's why I
every-
love it. He's going a long way, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. He's not just going to YouTube and stealing sounds.
Well, I'm no Dan Cummins.
'Cause that's what I do.
But if I was Tom Cummins, I would say just take it all from the internet. There's got to be these sound effects
Well, that's what we
everywhere.
do. That's what we do. We are the generic Logan. We steal all of our sound effects, and they're all crap, and they're all the same sound effects that everybody uses.
So I'm curious, is that the reason to make it custom, or can you do it so fast and efficiently that it almost like, all right, it's
just
custom.
keep it all in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a two birds with one stone thing. Where when I came on, there was another producer who had started doing that show a handful of years back, and when he left, I kind of took over doing all the shows. And in that process, I essentially was trying to match and emulate what he was already doing, so there wasn't a shock for the listeners.
Sure, yeah.
And then over the course of, I would say, probably about a year, I slowly added, my own style and tweaked it here, there, a little bit, just so it wasn't like this massive change up front.
Yeah.
And then once we kind of built up the quality expectation, I would say, we were using some, sample packs that we would, download, or some drones, and we did have another guy who would each week write like the basic, tonal atmospheres and drone, and we would add all the effects and everything on top. And so eventually it just got to the point where I was like, I can basically do all this if I had the right tools. And so just got a couple pieces of new software, cranked it up, and then told Dan and Lynze that, like you said, honestly, like the stuff that was out there was not quite up to snuff to my liking.
Yeah.
And it was I found I was wasting time, like trying to find the right things. I was like, man, it'd be way easier if I had cinematic tools and a keyboard in front of me, and I could just play out real quick what I wanted for, 2 minutes, and then drag and drop it in, and then I'd move on,
Yeah,
So
especially as
it's kind of the two birds with one stone thing.
Yeah, but especially as a musician, I think it's interesting, and I don't think we've even really touched on that. But how would you like sum up how you got to working with Dan and Lynze in sort of a soundscapes or sound design way? Were you always a musician? Like, where did you start? Like, what was sort of like your background into getting into sound design?
So I've always been a musician. Since I was little, I was mostly on the drums.
Yeah, I love watching you drum,
I did
man.
all of
Yeah, he's a great drummer.
Oh, thank you.
He's a killer drummer, massive Toto fan. You can watch him play. It's worth following just so you can watch him play. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries. So I did all the, high school marching band and indoor percussion and jazz band, pep band, all that stuff. And then I was in an actual like small touring band for a while, and then I decided basically to hang all that up so I could start my merchandising company. And through my merch company, that's how I met Dan and Lynze. I reached out to them because I was working with some other podcasts and comedians at the time, and I came across Time Suck, and I really enjoyed, especially when you're on the print floor with loud machines and everything, having a 3-hour podcast in your every week is kind of nice.
It is. Yeah, it's comforting.
So I reached out to them and said, hey, this is what I do. I would love to print your merch and design some stuff for you. And that was the intro. So I worked with Dan and Lynze for probably about 1.5 to 2 years here in Indiana, just doing their merch. And then they approached me to come out there one day and said, hey, what would it take to get you out here to do this out here and maybe some social media stuff? And so my wife and I decided, let's do a cross country. I actually moved there without ever stepping foot in CDA.
That's crazy, man. Wow.
My wife went and took some video for me.
I'm super glad to hear
That's
that
crazy.
other podcasters hire their listeners too. It's not just us. Because for a second I was like, is it only us? Are we just hiring? Is there a better way? Should we go out
No.
to monster.com?
No.
You know,
Intuit? What is it? Intuit?
because it makes sense that if you use your listeners as your employees, like
They understand the product.
They know the product. They're they more than anybody. Then if you hired some outsider that brought them in, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And also for you, even though you're obviously working, you're also hearing. I'm curious about that. So as a listener before, does it kind of ruin it? The
Good
fact
question.
that you now are, the podcast is your work, or do you?
Tell us how much it's ruined.
I wouldn't say it ruins it, but it definitely changes your listening and I guess all that, the experience of taking in the information.
It does. It does.
Because I would argue a passive listener. Like I like the cadence of something in my ear, and you pick a random fact every now and again, and it's just kind of a comforting thing. But now it definitely is. You got to be more aware of what you're listening to and focus in, especially if you're trying to catch any stop downs or edits or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a different listen when you're editing it than when you're performing it. Yeah, it really is different.
I just imagine that, like Melissa, let's say, our social media editor, can't stand to hear our voices anymore because she has to edit the show, and she wants.
See, I don't look at it like that.
She used to enjoy all of our employees.
I look at it more positive.
I feel like they hate listening because they can't.
Well, all of
take
our
it
employees do hate us. That's true. I cannot argue that. But that's because we're rich and they're not, and I can't do anything about that. Like that, I can't do anything about. I'm just kind of like Gene Simmons said to the Oasis fans: if you can't afford a ticket, stop complaining. Don't buy the ticket.
Here, some of our employees are richer than us, which just makes no sense.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Why are you even working for us?
Obviously, that's all crap. I'm kidding. But a question from the chat room. I think it's a pretty decent question because it's so simple. Is there one particular sound effect that you have made that you're like, damn, I nailed it? I love that sound effect.
We did an episode for Nightmare Fuel. I think it's maybe a couple ago now, and it was a very Friday the 13th based episode. It was like a camp and some teenagers and all that good stuff. And you hear some arrows come across it, like some guy's like looking like, what is that? And you hear an arrow come across the lake. And just, I would say that whole episode of just kind of how gory it was and having to visualize an arrow going through a throat or actual like one by one getting feet chopped off. And that's I think the funnest stuff to do. 'Cause like I said, I'll get different kinds of liquids and gargle it and get a little messy with it. I like a lot of jump scares. Like anytime I can truly make shit your pants out of nowhere, like that's the really fun stuff to do because it is a layered thing. You have your low, mids, and high, all of that working together for one heart-stopping moment. I love putting those in for sure.
How long does one episode take you to do?
So Scared to Death, typically front to back, probably takes me, because I do all like the socials and the visual, the thumbnails and everything with it too. I typically try to budget, 6 hours to 8 hours on the long end, essentially a full work day for one episode. And then Nightmare Fuels lately have been taking me anywhere between 15 and 20 hours.
That is
Holy
crazy.
Moly. Yeah.
Again, Tom Cummins is like, hold on, what's that website, Fiverr in the Indian call center?
Yeah. We'll put a spot here, we'll put a slash here.
No, that people, it's cool to hear you say that because people
they don't understand how long it takes to make it really sound unique and good.
Yeah, a lot of times editors and like the production of something, like the average listener doesn't understand what it actually takes time-wise.
It reminds me of coding. It's like when you ask an app to be built and they tell you, well, it's going to take this amount of hours, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, it's $20,000, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Because it doesn't seem like anything, right? But it's definitely something, you know? I mean, also sound, sometimes, you know, it's not something you can hold, so people get mad at it, you know? When they have to pay for it, you know?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like it's weird like that. Now, which do you prefer? Do you prefer, because I mean, like we touched on it briefly with your merchandising company, so you're on both sides. I mean, you're on the production level, you're on the design level, and then on another side, you have this like truly artistic and like podcasty, musical kind of a thing happening. How do you split your brain to do both? Is that possible? How do you do that?
Honestly, it's kind of nice being able now to bounce around. So I'll do a Scared to Death, and then maybe the next day I'll do some social work, some website work, because I still manage the web store that we have through Bad Magic as well.
Nice.
And then the next day might be a time suck and a short suck. So I'm kind of really going around a creative carousel almost, so that by the time I get back around to another Scared to Death and Nightmare Fuel, I'm like ready for the creepy again.
Yeah, like it refreshes you.
I think that's probably my key. Yeah, to not stagnate into one thing.
I like that. That's awesome, man.
And do you do your own podcast and as well?
I do. I have one with my wife called Broken Youth Club. We are on a summer/fall break right now just to handle moving back across the country and settling in. But we should be kicking that back up here within the next couple weeks now that I have my studio here. We're waiting on, unfortunately, the place we moved to didn't have internet, and we had to bury fiber. And if anybody has had to bury fiber before, you know it can take 2 to 3 months. So
yeah, it's a thing.
Kind of waiting on that.
Yeah, they're doing it in this area right now, actually, and people are doing nothing but complaining because it's taking nothing but forever. So I feel your pain, man.
Logan, I'm also curious, do you work with AI, and like how do you feel about where that's going? And especially in this industry.
Yeah, we love asking artists that because we get mixed answers.
We talked to other graphic designers that are like, I'm using it to save time, and like things like that.
I still need to learn more about it, if I'm being honest, as far as like practicality and use. I know actually one area where Dan and I have been talking that might be helpful is just the ability to almost have an assistant to condense things for you. So like, I think he was talking to Jack from Patreon. I think that's his name. And he was mentioning how he likes to basically open up his computer and he'll have about a 30, 40-minute conversation with his computer. So he's just walking around the room off the rip, just saying stuff. And then at the end, he can utilize AI to, hey, can you basically condense this into an executive summary for me and add it to my calendar or something like that. Anything that can improve efficiency without stripping away artistry, I guess. I really don't have a definitive opinion on AI yet. And I know that's probably bad because I'm an artist, but I do think it is a tricky and slippery landscape.
Yeah.
I've seen other artists, I'll say on the negative side, I follow a lot of great artists, and what Meta did recently was they started auto-tagging pictures and videos that they believe were made with AI as a little thing that says made with AI. Well, what I started noticing basically the first couple weeks they rolled that out was actual artists that I follow were getting falsely labeled as AI because their art has been stolen to use in the data sets that the AI was trained on.
Yes.
And so then they were losing followers or getting called out for faking their art or whatever. And then I saw a bunch of people have to defend themselves. So it's just definitely still a little bit of a messy landscape. I think with the right application, sure.
Yeah, I could see that too. And also, though, like I kind of think like if what I'm hearing from you sounds correct, to sum it up, it kind of sounds like if you're not using it now and you don't have a a viable use for it, then why force it? You know, I mean, like you're not there yet. I mean, you'll get there, maybe not. You know, maybe it won't work for you.
I just see these advertisements on TikTok where it's like, use AI to edit your videos for social media. And then I'm like, oh, your days are numbered, Melissa. But I don't know how to do it. I'm just like, I'm just joking.
I think it's one of those things where we have a little bit of time to worry, but it is coming down the pike. Because, you mentioned the AI edits for like vertical videos and socials or whatever. Sometimes they're just not. It's almost like the uncanny valley, where it's like it'll get 95% of the job done correctly, but that other little bit, like the cut was not right, or
it's
the
never
zoom
right.
wasn't right, or whatever. So you have to go in and still would fix it anyway. And at this point, it's like it's just faster for me to still do that.
This is good to go back to what he was saying about the Foley and the sound effects. No, it's easier sometimes for me to make the stuff than it is because the AI made so many mistakes that I have to go back and fix it.
Yeah.
So to go back to what he was saying about sound effects, it's just like I'll just go punch the cat food and record it. It's a lot easier.
I'm good with a solid 79%. So that's 79% done. Put it out. I'm joking, Logan. If anybody wants to contact you or find your show or find any information about what you do, what's your contact?
I mean, if anybody wants some work, I'd be happy to take a look at it. My email is logan@thespicyclub.com. And again, my personal podcast is called Broken Youth Club. It is a fairly heavier show. We talk a lot about, childhood trauma, just heavier stuff where you might get in your feels a little bit. So a little bit of a trigger warning.
It's a little less arrows through the neck and a little more like my dad is horrible or something, like it's way different, it's a little less camp with teenagers and more like these teenagers had a bad family.
And then of course, I've got a handful of socials that I think mine is, hey, it's Logan Keats. So
there you
pretty
go.
Easy to find.
Logan, thank you so much, man. Please give, Dan and the team there. I know you guys are working remotely now, but give them some love from us. And pleasure having you on Weird Job, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Take
Logan.
care. That is Logan live from Indiana.
It's crazy that, Scared to Death sometimes takes up to 8+ hours to actually produce, which is, that's insane.
And it's kind of like BDM stuff, like it's funny because the other one that they do, I believe, is like size-wise, even a shorter show, but it has more components.
Yeah.
So he's going to be working longer on that.
Could you imagine after every AMT?
I don't even like doing Black God. I don't even like doing Black God anymore. I'm like, this takes too long.
I'm like, hold on. Daniel, sometimes I go to the bathroom. Daniel's like, it's out already. I'm like, we just finished.
I give her the old Tony Palmiotti.
Maybe if you spend some time doing some Foley work, punching some cat food.
Put some coconuts on the table.
I mean, get to Foleying. Every AMT should have full Foley production on every.
I'm going to put a fart after everything you say. If that's what you want, I'll let it be cake. Is that what you want? Everything you say, and I'll be like, it'll be diarrhea, toilet flush.
Dan's got his producers spending 8 hours on his show.
Like a theatrical thing.
We should do that.
All we do is
rich.
get it. Look, before we were even on the show, before we were even started the show, Charles is in here and he goes, "You guys hate what you do, don't you? You're so jaded. You hate what you do."
Why would you say that, Charles?
That sounds like a man who's jaded at what he does. I'd be like, why are you throwing paper at that lady?
Sorry.
We have a listener in here. You're throwing paper at her? My voice is falling apart?
Yeah. It'll get better.
It's not. I ate a turkey sandwich already. It's not even just doing nothing.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more Corporate Time.
All right. Oh, they like that one. All right. Well, I'm glad you did. That goes Wednesday
1.
Wednesday 1. Do you need a drink or something? Oh, you got a coffee.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, were we good hosts?
Oh, yeah, we're the best hosts.
I don't know. I'm the guy that never introduces my wife at anything. Bad.
I had like a mini panic attack. My phone was going to go off. I kept checking it.
Oh, that's fine. That's added to the show, Foley.
Now,
That's
when
expensive.
when you're okay with 78%, that's called atmosphere. That's atmosphere,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
I didn't mean to call you baby. It just felt good there.
It works.
It's atmosphere, baby. These are Mountain Dews, baby. Remember that? Shaun White? Oh, my favorite.
Yeah.
We're talking about Mountain Dews, baby. Oh, that does have an edit. Let me make a note on that. I've been really...
To a BDM on the cruise, he kept apologizing for things he was saying, and I was like, this is the one audience I don't think.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize.
Yeah,
You're fine.
you're amongst like-minded people. Yeah.
Charles is laughing. I like how everybody's like, yeah, Saquon sucks now. No, it does not. It's not suck now. Okay, let me make an edit mark on this.
I didn't know you could mute yourself and cough and do all sorts of stuff. That's neat.
Oh, over here? Yeah. We kind of have to.
Yeah.
Now, in a fancier, if we had built this out correctly, we would have put cough buttons. I have
There
two.
were cough buttons?
Yeah, there's little buttons you wire into the thing, and you this XLR goes into a cough button, and then it comes out into here, and then you hit. I've got two of them in there. They belong to Shannon Burke. They probably have nothing but bad mojo all over them. But I didn't even see the need to use them. You know, it's like, because again, 78%. You know, it's like I'm gonna start using that. I like that. It's awesome. 78% is fine.
I worked for NBC where if you made one noise, like you literally got ushered off.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, some hosts used to be that way
Yeah.
at Real Radio. If you even like made a noise, and what was that?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. We're doing
this-
10 minutes of.
This is Tuesday 4,
Mhm.
and we'll start off with that Miley Cyrus song.
Oh, okay.
and then-
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Okay, here we go. Bring us back. 3, 2.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time. So Daniel was telling me about this this lawsuit that came up, but it came up like a unique way because nobody probably would have even realized this if it wasn't for the internet and memes,
It
right?
went a different way. Yeah, okay, so there was a song in 2012 written by Bruno Mars called When I Was Your Man. And then everyone knows the hit song Flowers from a couple of years ago from Miley Cyrus in 2022.
Yeah.
So the Miley
A
Cyrus...
bigger hit than
yeah.
Bruno Mars' song.
I think so, yeah. I think you have to say that. But, okay, so what happened was I want to say about a year ago, or maybe even longer than a year ago, people started saying, hey, is the song Flowers an answer song to Bruno Mars' song? Because Bruno says, the lyrics go, that I should have brought you flowers. Well, the first line in Flowers is, I can buy myself flowers. The second line in Bruno's song is, and I held your hand. Well, the second line in Miley's song is, I can hold my own hand. The third line in Bruno's song is, should have gave you all my hours when I had the chance. Third line in her song says, talk to myself for hours. So people were like, is Miley answering Bruno Mars? So it just became a meme. It wasn't, is this plagiarism? It wasn't, are these songs identical? It wasn't, I'm going to sue you. It was, hey guys, look at this cute thing. And here, I'll play it for you so you can hear it.
Okay.
And this is from the one that I chose, and I chose it deliberately old. This is from December of 2022.
Okay, yeah.
Miley Cyrus answered Bruno Mars When I Was Your Man.
I should have bought you flowers. I can buy myself flowers and held your hand. I can hold my own hand. Should have gave you all my hours. Talk to myself for hours. All you wanted to do was dance. I can take myself dancing.
Yeah, he even said, I want to go dancing, and she said, I can take myself dancing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so now there is officially a lawsuit going on, and now officially, I'll try to pull up all the details now so I can talk to you about it. But, yeah, apparently it is a real lawsuit, and it wasn't at first. At first, it was just like some cute little meme, and now they are taking it to court.
Now, the actual song doesn't sound anything like each other, right? Like the music doesn't.
I mean, it does, I guess, a little bit. I mean,
Just the lyrics are, it does sound like it is an answer to that song.
I mean, my
but
voice-
that's not plagiarism, right? That's you're
but-
taking inspiration.
I mean, I guess, but here, let's play it again.
Answer Bruno Mars
I mean-
when I was your man.
I should have bought you flowers. I can buy myself flowers.
I mean, it almost does sound like it's close to a similar key.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the melody is exactly the same, but I don't know if the melody needs to be the same. If you're doing a song that is like almost exactly the same premise, just like with a tiny nuance of I'm doing it for myself, not doing it for you, right?
Yeah. That's the difference. That's enough to make it a different concept.
You think it is?
Yeah. Because remember the old rule with the characters, right? Like for instance, like Shrek could mock other characters, right?
They draw them, like if they wanted to do a Barbie, they
A
draw a
percentage
doll that
different.
sort of looks like, there are percentages that they play, yes.
And then legally, it's like, okay,
Yes.
if this is X percentage different, and it's weird because it seems kind of subjective what, how many percentage different, like your Barbie is from, but there is a copyright law that protects that there has to be a difference. And I feel like there's hard to prove that, because it does seem like Miley Cyrus at least got inspired by Bruno Mars' song, right? Like,
Well, they're claiming, this is what they claim. They say Flowers duplicates numerous melodic, I'd probably give them that one, harmonic and lyrical elements of When I Was Your Man. Now it's not the exact, if it were the exact, obviously they wouldn't be, it'd be like, sorry, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
But they're saying Flowers duplicates numerous melodic, harmonic rather, and lyrical elements of When I Was Your Man, including the melodic pitch designs and sequence of the. Now that I'll give them. The sequence of the verse is exactly the same. There's no way, you cannot argue that. The sequence of flowers, dancing, and how it's delivered, 4 parts, that is exactly the blank and same.
So let me ask you this. So usually in lawsuits, and this happened with the NFL and all big corporations, is when it goes to a jury, like corporations always, like I've heard it from Mo, they expect the jury to side with the little guy, right? Because
That's why I win all my court cases. Every single one.
So usually when a corporation's getting sued, the jury itself will side with the person suing them because they're like, screw this corporation, they got the money. But in this case, both the artists are A-list celebrities, Bruno Mars and Miley Cyrus. So do you think the jury's going to side with Bruno Mars? Because he's just as big as Miley Cyrus.
It gets a little stickier because everyone that if you wrote either song, you're named. So that's going to be multiple people, like Watt, that guitar playing songwriter. Watt, he'll be named.
But I'm just
Andrew
saying,
Watt's in there.
The jury, even though they'll name like the writers, and those are no names, but the jury, I still feel.
So
like,
I'm on the jury.
Look
I have
at
to
Bruno,
choose.
and
Who do I
there's-
have to choose? I'm going to choose Bruno.
Well, they'll just be like,
He's wimpier. I'm going to choose him. Wimpier than Miley.
They're probably going to be like, move on. This is stupid to start awarding damages, because then there's precedent. That's the thing too. Like you start as a jury, and there's in this case, and if it does go and Bruno Mars wins, then that's a precedent, right? Then
hey, Sam's in
cases
here.
can use.
I'm glad Sam is saying this. Yeah, that's kind of what we started with, Sam. Sam is saying in the chat room, she did it because Liam dedicated that Bruno Mars song to her at, quote, in all caps, their wedding. It was a response. I mean, then that's a great argument, because you could just say, like, no, it was creative and it was my interpretation of what, of me responding to Bruno.
Yeah,
but
and that's a different song.
But even more than anything, what Tom and I thought was funny is that, like, this started in December of, like, 2021 as just like, ha, look at this. And now here we are, 2024, and they're doing discovery for a court case.
Yeah, I mean,
That's crazy.
Bruno Mars and his people must have heard, because Miley Cyrus's Flower song was so popular and played so everywhere.
It was the biggest song of 2022, right?
I mean, obviously by the lyrics, he must have thought to himself, this is a response kind of to my song. Right?
That's why everybody was saying it.
Yeah,
I mean, like
yeah.
every blogger, every entertainment person was like taking the songs, putting them side by side. People were remixing them. There's so many remixes that got them into trouble too. If you look on YouTube, there's probably 200 remixes of the songs combined.
Yeah. So is this a case where the actual like ghostwriters behind the scene are suing, or is it Bruno Mars himself? Like you never really know because I'm sure Bruno Mars is named in the case, but he may not even care, and it could be some writer that doesn't even work for him.
It's
trying
an
to
investment,
sue. Yeah.
Tempo Music Investments. That's
Okay.
Who it
So
is.
it's
Yeah.
like some production company or label that's actually doing the lawsuit.
Yeah, and that's how it always happens, right? You have the investors get a
The
hold
artists
of,
don't even-
they're not even involved.
No,
you know,
yeah.
like I'm sure that they both probably are like, oh man, this is not good publicity for either of us.
I feel like we've gotten to a point where plagiarism is almost out the window with how much content the world is producing all at once. And it's kind of like everybody is borrowing from everybody, and it's hard to pin down exactly where the creative idea even came from.
Yeah.
Because
You
now
know who started that? Porno.
it's just like,
Porno started that because all the videos got leaked on the internet, and you couldn't put them back in the toothpaste tube.
yeah.
It's like they're gone. It's just like anything you've put. If you're an artist and your art's on the internet, you have contributed to your own art being stolen.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if you sing a love song, most likely all the lyrics are going to be cliche, right, in a love song, and somehow match with some other content out on the internet that you have either no idea about or you like ingested at some part of your life, and now it's coming back out as creativity later. And that's what's impossible. Everybody's taking in so much information that it's impossible. Like we're flawed human brains. So when you think of something creatively years later, it could be pieces of something you've already heard and you have no idea.
Sam added one more thing in here, and I didn't see this in the. Oh no, it's here. I think we're on the same article. This is you'll find this funny. The suit also names Sony Music Publishing, Apple, Target, Walmart, and several other companies as defendants accused of distributing flowers. So they're it's like patent troll
they're trying to
style.
get
Yeah,
money.
they're
Yeah,
patent
yeah.
troll style.
Okay, yeah.
So this I'm gonna predict this is a nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna predict nothing happens with this.
Yeah, because there are so many lawsuits being filed all the time that are nothings that it just like you hope to
Ours
get paid
was.
off.
We can talk about that now, right?
Yeah. Well,
Hey.
but there's just like so a lot of this is just filing to hope you get paid off in something. You know, it's like they throw 20 grand to make it go away or something. You know, who knows what it is, but it does. I mean, it seems like no one's got a case here, and maybe the lawyers would just throw money at it so they don't have to fight
All
it.
of these cases always make me feel bad for old Robin Thicke.
What do you mean?
That song destroyed his life.
Well, he destroyed his life.
But I know, but that was the beginning of it. But I feel like I feel. Hold on, just go with me in a theory. This is my Daniel Dennis, Robin Thicke theory.
Yeah.
I have a theory on this.
Ah.
If we could go back in time, and I could stop Robin Thicke from writing that song with Pharrell, it wouldn't get released, right? They wouldn't have gotten sued for plagiarism by Marvin Gaye's family. He wouldn't have had that video with Emily Ratajkowski with her big old mega melons out there looking amazing. It wouldn't have boosted him into like super duper stardom. And that's what
hypersexual,
and that's what,
especially with the balloons
dude,
and what they said.
It said
Yeah,
Robin
yeah.
Thicke's got a big old D. And dude, I'm telling you right now, that video and then because it became so popular, he got a B12 shot of fame and destroyed his life. If I could go back and take that song away from him, he's still with his that hot wife that he had, and his family, his kids, like, oh, he's doing The Voice, he's fine, whatever, dumb show, he's fine. If I could destroy that song, he's fine.
Yeah.
That's my Robin Thicke theory.
Do you ever think about that? Like, if something happened, like, say, Will Ferrell started listening to our show somehow, right?
I hate Will Ferrell now, and I'm going to tell you why I hate Will Ferrell now, and I didn't think I'd ever say this.
Yeah.
He has a new commercial during all football. And she spins around. It's for PayPal, and he goes, "I want to pay with you everywhere," and I want to choke him out. It's the dumbest. I hate it. And he looks
Why
so
just do
old.
it or
No, and he
anything for
looks
money?
old, and his hair looks old.
I guess
Get the hell out of here, Will Ferrell. You're destroying my football.
Will Ferrell's a bad example because I don't think anybody cares. Well, who's the most popular celebrity right now?
Right
that's
now?
got like Shane Gillis, right?
Pretty popular. P. Diddy.
Within I feel like with our audience, if he so Shane Gillis, let's say, starts listening to our show for whatever reason, and then promotes it, and these guys are hilarious, or whatever, blows us up, right? If we get blown up. And then we, you know me. I feel like I'll have to take advantage of it somehow. And I'll be working.
Hey.
And
Well, are you the Robin Thicke here? Tom Van's got a big old D. You've got the balloons. You've got
dancing.
some.
Miley Cyrus is twerking on me.
You've got some Deltona version of Emily Ratajkowski walking across, juggling her big balloon boobs.
Yeah. But then we have to be on tour. We start selling out theaters and stuff like we do our podcast. Our podcast is huge. We're making an insane amount of money, right?
Yeah.
But we're never with our family. And then I get lonely.
I'm never with my family anyway.
And
I haven't seen my family. I have not seen my family since before the cruise.
Yeah. And then, when you blow up that big, all of a sudden, you're doing a show. And then there's beautiful women
everywhere.
waiting.
Like we're Dan Cummins at the Playboy radio.
Yeah, they're sneaking into your green room, and they know I'm married. And then I just talked to my wife, and I tucked the kids into the in bed with the FaceTime. I'm like, I'm sorry, Dad will be home in a couple months. I just got to do this tour to bring the money to the family. And then Crystal kind of accepts it because we're making good money. But then you know what happens. Ruined my life, and then my kids, and then Crystal's poisoning my kids' heads. Dad.
Oh, I thought you meant she was poisoning your kids.
No.
If you just do it a little bit, it's just Munchausen. That's fine.
She's telling oh, Dad left the family. Money's more important to him than you guys. Saying horrible.
Well, they already say that.
And then my whole life is ruined, all because of success. And then I tell myself, I'm like, I'm glad we're not famous.
I really enjoyed that. That was.
That's how I have to rationalize not being famous.
I wanted to do sound effects to it.
Anyway, so
we got to take a break.
Okay. Yep. All right. We'll be right back.
Well, no, we won't. Right? Isn't that the end?
Well, I guess. Well, technically, yes, it is. We will see you tomorrow.
All right, we did it.
Yeah, we could have gone a little longer.
I thought you wanted a 10.
Well, I decided we were gonna do 40 with Kenny.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy.
No, it's all good. It gives us more time with the.
I'm sorry about that.
History Center. No, we're good.
So that is Tuesday 2 or
That's Tuesday 4.
4.
Yeah. Right. And then we'll come back and do Tuesday 1, 2, and 3.
Was the lawsuit the fan club lawsuit?
With what?
When he brought up the lawsuit?
Oh no. We got sued by some patent trolls, or not sued. We got
just hassled
by patent trolls, just by
nothing.
Putting up some picture on our Tony used to put up the show. Every show he used to put up the show in the description, and he just used random pictures, so then patent trolls would buy the copyright of random 10,000 pictures, and then use a computer program to scan the internet and see where those pictures were at, and then whoever had posted those pictures, they'll sue and be like, this picture's worth $3,000, you stole it from us, we'll sue you, you pay us half, or we're gonna take it for that kind of thing. So it was one of those things, and we just literally just ignored it, multiple letters and shit, and nothing happened. But they just try to extort anybody, and they just basically it's a letter mailing campaign to see what kind of money they can get. Yeah. And people pay. We know people would pay because they get freaked out about getting sued, and
Well, we paid once, but only because it was easier than fucking with it earlier on, because I didn't know anything about it when we got that song stolen, when Lee sold that song.
Oh, but that wasn't a patent troll.
No, but it was a copyright infringement deal.
Oh, okay.
Where they traced our IP address.
The company I work for, we do a trade show. It's called the Air Show, but the American Institute of Research has trademarked air, so we literally can't use the word air.
No,
oh yeah. Andrea used to deal with a lot of that stuff when she worked at IKEA. It would be there are all these little things.
Well, that's all we need.
Oh, okay. We're not gonna do the.
We don't need to because we're gonna do
Okay.
1 and 2 and 3 when we get back.
All right. We'll